Hi everyone. I hope you're doing okay and handling this course pretty well. I noticed on the snow day, on Thursday it was, just about everybody was online. I was at the university. I had stayed overnight in the dorm. I have a room in De Silva. And during the day I was working on this course, and I checked the email list. It tells me every time, the last date everybody has signed in. And I noticed that sometime during that day, it just seemed that just about everybody had signed into the course. So I'm glad I gave you something to do in the snowbound so you didn't get cabin fever. And it was a good opportunity to kind of catch up on things, as long as you didn't have your time taken up with going to other classes. As of now, when I'm taping this, which is Sunday night, I've read all of the Where Do I Stand papers that have been submitted. There are just a couple of them that I haven't read yet, students who signed into the course later than everybody else. And they're just really fine and posting on the message board. It's good to see how you're responding to each other and discovering things about yourself as you write and as you think. I remember once when I was teaching the course, there was a student who she sat up toward the front of the classroom, and I asked, it was when we were in the marriage unit, and I asked how many students were going to get married. I asked first, how many students go to Mass every Sunday, how to go to student church every Sunday. And in those days, really, most of the students at St. John's were Catholic. And very few students raised their hands. And then I asked, well, how many were going to get married in the church and a lot more hands shot up. So I asked this young woman who was seated in the front of the room. She hadn't raised her hand when and I asked about going to church. And so I asked, how come you're going to get married in the church? And she paused, and you could just see something happening over her face. And she said, I guess I really believe. She shocked herself. So maybe there will be things that shock you during the course of the semester. I was shocked when I looked at the adjectives on the message board. Really, if your fourth grade teacher, English teacher, was grading that, she would have given F, F, F. Really, when I say adjectives, I mean adjectives. So you'll see that on the campus guides, I posted a list of adjectives. I took out the ones that were really adjectives and put a little test there, which one doesn't belong. And rather than have you put your answers on the message board where people would know whether you were right or wrong, I'm having you email the messages your answers to me, so that we'll keep this a little bit quieter. On the learning resources, I also put a more direct question that I had hidden. If you remember last week's video, I had hidden it in syllabus questions. And as of now, Sunday night, still nobody has either found it or nobody has answered the question. So now I've asked it more directly as a mystery. And if you've got a solution, fine. If you just have a clue, you look closely at the picture, try to analyze it. Maybe you'll see a clue there. Pretend this is CSI or NCIS or whatever program discovery you like to watch, and others can react to your clues. It might help solve the problem. So that I have put on the message board. Be careful when you're writing now. We've got a very clear definition of ritual, and when you go through the unit, which I've posted on in the files, I remind you of the elements of ritual that we're considering. And then we also develop now an understanding of liturgy and how ritual is. Ritual is liturgy and some is not. And then finally we tackle the kind of thorny question about obligation. How can you be obligated to worship or celebrate liturgy? The readings are posted at the end of well, they're posted separately in the files, but at the end of the unit, I remind you of the things that you'd be reading. Now, some of you are reading before you start doing the unit, and some of you are reading after it, and some of you are reading back and forth, and whatever works for you is just fine. And as I said, work at your own pace. Don't, skip units. Work, because one thing builds on another, and I keep referring back to other units as we progress. If there are questions that you have regarding the unit, post it in the right place on the message board under Unit 3 questions. And don't worry if you start another thread or anything like that. We can fix it. The rest of us can all cope. We understand. We're getting there. And when you get to the end of the unit, maybe there'll be a little surprise there waiting for you. Hope you have a good week. Any questions at all? Email me, phone me, text me, however you want to find me. But ask the questions. Bye.